Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another chapter in the Masters of the Universe 52 Art Challenge. I am Kenny Calderon, and with me, as always, is the remarkable Will Playton from Down Under.
Good day, everyone. I hope everyone's doing great, and it's going to be a fun stream today, Kenny. I'm looking forward to getting this Man-at-Arms underway. I did a little bit of homework in between streams to catch up with you, so I did a bit of wash work on Duncan,
Nice.
and getting it ready for today. So hopefully I don't fall too far behind. How was your week?
Oh yeah, the week's been good. It was Valentine's Day week. Got Melly some beautiful roses.
Nice.
And as a very unconventional gift, I also gifted her some custom Funko Pop figures.
Oh, look at that.
So like I made a pop figure of her and one of myself, right? Because and I like to do little things like that for her so that she doesn't see it coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. The Avatar melt. Very cool.
Very cool. All in all, great week. Lots of good things coming up. Let's see. Tomorrow, if anyone in the audience right now is in the South Florida area, tomorrow I will be in North Miami Beach for Beyond Comic-Con. If you go to my Instagram handle is at the bottom of the screen right now. If you head over to my Instagram, you'll see my posting for Beyond Comic-Con. You can follow the link there. It is a free event. It's great for the whole family. I will be there with copies of Volume 1 of my art book and copies of Tragedy the manga. All right, a full 40 some odd page manga that I illustrated late last year that finally is in print. I'll have limited run of copies with me tomorrow. And if you did support the Kickstarter and you're in North Miami Beach, come by. I'll sign your book for free.
Nice. For free?
Yeah. I'm not a prima donna.
Well, you still charge me, but I mean, that's great. Good for everyone else. Good on you, everyone. Good on you, rest of the world.
I'm not a prima donna, Will. I'm not a prima donna.
No, you've never been accused of that. Lots of other stuff, but never that.
But all in all, welcome
Beyond
everyone.
Comic-Con.
Yes, Beyond Comic-Con, North Miami.
Have you got a booth number, Kenny?
Yes, I'll be at booth number 12. So because it's a smaller event, you can typically walk through the whole lineup of booths and vendors and so forth, and you won't miss anyone. It's very well organized.
Nice.
The way they set up the floor plan at Beyond.
I love a good organized event.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's in its third year, and it's a family owned and operated event as well.
Yeah, love that. Very cool. Bit of quality.
Of course.
It's sometimes nice to go to ones like that because it doesn't feel so corporate. Not that I don't mind the big events; they're fun, but the family ones sometimes have a nice sort of, I don't know, just personal feeling to them.
Absolutely. It's like it feels like you're at a reunion.
Yeah.
Exactly. It feels more intimate. It doesn't feel so processed.
Right. Exactly.
Grab sheet here. Yeah, it doesn't feel so processed. So I'll have all of my usuals. I'll be doing sketch cards, sketch covers. I got some new comic sketch cover blanks that I'll be working on tomorrow that I'll have on offer. I'll have some of my Marvel artist proofs that I still have available. I'm currently working on a new set.
Nice.
and yeah, I'll be taking 11 by 14 sized commissions as well.
Ooh.
Yes.
How's your commission list looking at the moment? Are people available to grab you, or are you?
Ooh, it's looking really slim right now. Really limited.
Yeah.
Right. Really limited. So I think I have room for maybe 2 more.
Ooh, get in there. Get in there. Get a call.
For maybe 2 more before I shut it down until like mid-March.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I can't complain. It's been a great start to the year so far.
Yeah, 2024. It is the year this year. Lots happening. Lots going on.
And you, Will, what do you got going on? How was your week?
Well, it's been a busy week, but I've got to say, commission wise, I've cleared my bench. So
nice.
Last week was good. I sort of finished off the last of those. I've probably been getting more tattoo appointments rather than commissions, which is okay. Like, it's nice to ebb and flow between those things, but it's allowed me to sort of jump in and sort of tie up and finish some of the other sort of art projects I was doing on the side. So that's been good.
Right.
And working on our next live stream, which we talked about before, you and I, before the cameras rolled today. And I've been working on that big horror montage sort of in the off hours, sort of doing one character at a time.
I've been seeing that. Yes. So guys, if you haven't done so already, follow Art of Will Playton. His handle is on the bottom of the screen. He's been posting this like what would you call it? Like a
so I call it
of horror icons.
That's it. I call it the it's like a iconic monster mashup. It's like a montage of all, and like, I mean, I tried to get as many iconic ones in, but it can only get so big, and I feel like they're inventing them as I'm going.
Sure.
They keep trying to add things in, so I'm sure there are ones I've missed, but I'm just sort of moving through the characters I know that sort of jump out to me from everyone from the 1930s right through to the slasher era to even some of the later ones like Midsummer and things like that. So it's it's fun. I'm actually really enjoying it. It's just sort of, I can sort of I was going to say let the hair down, but I have none. But I guess I just sort of relax into it. Relax into it for a couple hours before bed and do a Hannibal Lecter, or I did the Lost Boys last week, so that was fun.
That's the one that caught my eye. I was like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
That's the one that caught my eye. I'm trying to get it to all fit in with certain lighting on it. Mm-hmm. So on the left-hand side, the background is lit by the moon, so it's got the real blue lighting. Nice. And the right hand side of the montage, because it's two large illustration boards long. Mm-hmm. The right hand side is lit by a harvest or a red moon, a blood moon. The right hand side is going to have a red tint, and the left hand side will have a blue tint. So, so the two of them together will, meet in the middle, where I've got some of the big characters like Bela Lugosi and stuff. So he'll be sort of spliced with two light sources either side of his face.
I love it.
But, and eventually, the idea was I'm just going to get to print with it, and you'll be able to buy it as a large canvas jiggly.
Great idea.
And then so you can come out to the conventions, or you can order it from Etsy, and you can unravel the banner and put it up, or frame it, do whatever you want with it. So that's the plan. But,
and it's coming out fantastic. So I like I mentioned, the first one that I saw was the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
Right. The Kiefer Sutherland painting, and I was really, really impressed with your color choices and the way you were using the light hues, the way it was bouncing off of the edge of his face. That was great.
Yeah,
and then I saw. And then the Hannibal was the one that I saw after.
Right. Yeah, that was last night. I was doing Hannibal. So, and I suppose the week before I was sort of doing I do one eye, sort of let it settle, and then start the next one as I'm moving. Because especially when you're doing representational stuff, I just have to let it sit for a bit.
Sure.
To make sure I'm getting it right. So, and it's never going to be a a photocopy of what Anthony Hopkins looks like, because I'm drawing it, sort of not tracing it. So it's always going to be a little bit out, but it's getting that crazy look in his eye, which is the key to Hannibal Lecter. He's got that real wild eyes that, you know, that is rather scary. But yeah, so after him it'll be Pinhead. Pinhead's the next one.
Ooh, nice.
So that's going to be an interesting one. And just at the right, because I'm doing designing a leg piece for someone on all the horror icons too. So it's I'm kind of doubling up.
Oh, nice. So when you do pieces of that scale with so many subjects that are obviously like in the realm of being representational, do you compose a list of what you want to include?
Yes, so I did to start with, and if you ever want to see it, like that's anyone watching, you can on the YouTube that I have, this one obviously, and you go to the Monster playlist. The first video is the pencil composition, so you can sort of see the two large boards laid out. But yeah, I always start with a list. I hit list, and then I sort of grow from there. I look things like what's the top 10 or top 50 horror movies, in case there's ones that I forgot. Yeah, and then I just kind of think, well, what are the ones I want that are prominent, and how do they fit together, and making sure some are looking left and off screen, and picking unusual poses, especially because you've got to reference, especially when it's representational. I have to reference. I can't just make up an Anthony Hopkins head. But I'm sure there are artists that are amazing that way. I can't do that. I have to reference his face. There's too many nuances to his head. So, but yeah, it's just been fun. Like it's one of those things I've wanted to do for ages, and as you know, sometimes your commitments in publishing get away from you, and that stuff goes on the back burner for a bit.
Sure.
So it was kind of work that I had started years ago before you and I met.
Right.
And I got involved in those other publishing ventures, and then I came back to it. So I want to get it done now. Get it finished.
Those types of projects are usually some of my favorite projects, right? Because it's something that, like this challenge, it's something that allows you to kind of stretch your art muscles, you know, and give you some really, really in-depth practice on, you know, composition, working with a lot of elements, playing around with lighting and so forth, especially if you're gonna work with a medium such as gouache or watercolor or even acrylic.
Yes. Yeah.
So hi, Yvette.
Hey, Yvette, and yes, thank you. It's it always helps when you love it, you know. It sort of comes out in the work too, like
absolutely.
And when you're doing it, you're building 1,000 different other lists in your head. Oh, now I'm going to do this and that.
Exactly. You get super excited, and you know you can't wait for the next one, because now you've already kind of broken the ice.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know you've realized that, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel so intimidating.
And it looks all right. It'll look okay together. So I think once I hit that middle point, when I've got both light sources mixing in the center of that montage piece, it'll start to get its legs on the ground a bit. It'll start to speed up. Sweet. It's sometimes and I think it's having. I didn't want it to look like a Photoshop piece where I've just cut the characters out and stuck them down. The lighting has result on each other. So the lighting from the blob will affect Michael's face, David's face from the Lost Boys, and there'll be reflected light happening throughout. So you can see it if you look at David. You can see the pink from the blob sort of glowing on him a little bit. So yeah, so it's interesting.
It's that attention to detail. It's that attention to detail that I find very, very impressive, and I think it's one of the things, as not just as an artist but a fan of art, right, that I find most satisfying. I think it's one of those it's one of those things that like elevates the art that much further when you can identify the little nuances that the artist incorporated into the piece. You can tell that there was a lot of TLC that was put into the work.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the stuff that gets my engine running too when I see people's work. It's a deep dive at every section. You know, there's always something new to look at. You know, there's nothing worse than looking at art that's a bit pedestrian. So it's nice to see when the people that you love. You know, like if I'm looking at Frederick Cooper, for example, who does a lot of beautiful monster work. If I'm looking at his stuff, I know it's going to be a faithful rendition, but with new stuff. You know, like when he's doing a Bride of the Frankenstein, and you know, I know it's going to be a Frederick Cooper flex every time I see one of his artworks. You know,
right. That's
what you want.
That's a good description. I like that.
Yeah, it's super fun. So hopefully it'll be ready to go. If I keep going at the pace I'm going, hopefully it should be ready by the end of the year. So it'll be ready for conventions next year, I think.
Oh man, just in time for spooky season.
There you go.
Just in time for spooky season. So without too many spoilers, what are some of the iconic monsters that you are incorporating into the piece?
Oh well, I mean it's probably not any spoiling. I mean they can sit on the video, but on the first one, but it's got all the Universal monsters. So it's got you know, Bela Lugosi's Dracula, Karloff's Frankenstein, you know, Claude Rains is the Invisible Man, and the Bride of Frankenstein. You know, so it's got all of the Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's got all those classics to begin with, and I've gone back a little bit further with you know the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a really early silent film. Wow. It's got Nosferatu, which was the first one I did. So actually, I think the Wolfman was the first one I did, but it's got Nosferatu, which is that 1922 vampire silent film, which you can watch on YouTube's.
Classic
and very creepy. And then it sort of moves through the eras. So I've got Jekyll and Hyde, the original, not the original, sort of the speaky version when they started having voices in there. But then there's everything in there from Creepshow to Freddy Krueger, Jason, Michael, Chucky, Annabelle. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. The Shining is in there. I've tried to include Pet Sematary, like just trying to those little benchmarks. The Stuff. Do you remember The Stuff? The white yolk. You can't get enough of the stuff. You know, the white yolk.
The stuff. Nice.
The stuff. The box at the end of the movie Seven.
What's in the box?
Yeah, in the box, man. Yeah, that one with Brad Pitt dribbling and snot coming out. Yeah, it wasn't
pleasant. Fantastic.
Very, very unpleasant, Brad Pitt. There's lots of vampires on there. So I've got the 30 Days of Night vampire, the female from the 30 Days of Night. I've got Vampirella is on there. Nice. The only one I didn't probably put on there was Elvira because I was tossing up because she's more of a presenter, even though she did a movie. She's more of a presenter for movies. You know, so I didn't really include her.
I think she's more eye candy than you know, than like say for example, like the Crypt Keeper. The Crypt Keeper is like you said, he's more of a presenter, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't think you know he would necessarily qualify, especially with you know the vanguard of characters that you're incorporating into the piece. You know,
which is what you know. I did include the Crypt Keeper, but the only reason I did was he's in the centerpiece. It's like he's telling the story.
Okay.
I've got him. Clever. I've got him right at the very bottom with the book open.
Very clever.
So he's kind of sort of the centerpiece with two large sort of unfolding montages either side of him. And then I kind of just had to balance it on either wing. So I've got Pennywise on the left looking to the left into the moonlight. And
Tim
on the
Curry?
right I've got... Sorry?
Tim
no,
Curry?
I didn't use him. I used the new one.
Ah.
I prefer the Tim Curry one, but I thought I'd just mix it between contemporary and old because I already had Cujo, and I had a lot of original Stephen King ones like The Shining. Christine is in it.
Nice.
Yeah, so and with the headlights on, sort of facing us with the headlights on. So I had a lot of
the crap out of me as a kid.
Yes, I think we all got scared of that one.
My dad was a mechanic. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
so
right.
My dad
go to
was
the
a mechanic,
workshop.
so it's like we always had a driveway full of cars. He was the neighborhood mechanic.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So it's
always a red Chevy sitting there.
Absolutely. Yes. Believe it or not.
That's funny. Yeah. So so I kind of mixed it between the original Stephen King stuff and the remade stuff. So it's a newer Pennywise, but there's a lot of older Stephen King on there as well. And the creature from the Black Lagoon sort of is facing the other wing with the bride.
Yeah.
And I've got obviously the original Dracula, and then I've got the Christopher Lee Dracula is on there as well. I've got Blackula. Blackula's on there.
Yes, that's awesome.
He's on there. So and Candyman. So there's a whole bunch on there. Texas Chainsaw on one side and Evil Dead Ash on the other side. So they've got the two chainsaws sort of mirroring each other.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I've got a lot of work ahead of me. Could be my legacy. There you go, children.
It could be. Listen, those pieces, like in my own right, just because I would approach those pieces as something for me, something as like a personal challenge, right?
Yeah.
Everyone who's been watching us every week, they know that I'm a little bit of a masochist, and I like the abuse, right? So I like challenging myself with overcomplicated work, right?
Yes.
But then, those pieces tend to encapsulate like the fan in the audience, right? Like you, for example, as a horror fan.
Yes.
You can 100% lean into that, and you're gonna pour a lot of energy into it because, again, you're a horror fan. So it's a lot of TLC is gonna go into it.
Yeah.
So it'll resonate with someone who's also a huge horror fan. Like Stephen King, for example, like the Stephen King IPs, that's worth its own like poster.
Oh, it's almost one on itself. I mean, I thought as I was going, it'd be cool to do a Final Girl one.
Oof.
With just all of the women that have survived the horror movies, because they're an icon in themselves. The Jamie Lee Curtis.
That's a great idea.
Heather Langley from Nightmare on Elm Street. Like there's a whole legacy of these warrior women that have survived it. And then you've got Ash from Evil Dead is the other guy. Unfortunately, we don't often make it, Kenny. We don't often make it. We don't get through.
That's it. I love it. I love it, man. Because even like talking about this, it brought me back to a lot of the horror movies that I loved watching growing up, right? And a lot of the ones that disturbed me, upon watching them, like during the Gremlin fad, right? We had Critters, right? The Critters series. We had what was this other one? I don't know if you remember this. The Munchies. Oh, I lost Will. But yeah, the Munchies was a movie that came out during the fad of Gremlins, right? Gremlins was such a popular movie back in the 80s, going into the 90s, that now suddenly everybody wanted to do a little monster movie, right? Like movies about little creatures that would like attack people, like Piranha. You remember the Munchies, Will?
The Munchies. No,
So
I don't remember that one.
I was explaining to the audience, right?
Did I miss one?
Yeah, I was explaining to the audience that that the Munchies was one of those like C list movies that came out during the height of the Gremlin popularity.
The Gremlins and the Critters and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes. So the Munchies were like these little trolls that would eat like candy, but then like they developed a taste for human flesh.
Because that's your next step, isn't it?
Yeah,
you go from bubblegum,
the natural next step.
Bubblegum to human flesh. I mean, that's your next process, really. You know, you go from a Hershey's bar to eating Nana. Like that's the next step over, really. Like,
because I remember in that movie, the Munchies were in like this ice cream shop, right? So like the main character, I guess the main girl, was an employee at the ice cream shop, and you know there's always like the jerk in each one of these like horror movies.
Always, yeah.
So the jerk, and it's always satisfying to see him get it, to see it, to see him get his comeuppance.
Well, sometimes they become the hero.
True. They get that redemption arc.
Yeah,
but this guy, he was the shop was closed, and he was freeloading the Reese's Pieces.
I love that term, freeloading.
He was freeloading the Reese's Pieces.
Yeah.
And one of these little munchies was in the Reese's Pieces and then chewed up his hand. It was great.
Oh, that's so good.
I'm telling you. But like I was saying about Stephen King, like even the Stephen King stuff by itself is worth like doing one of those large pieces, because like the man with the red eyes from The Stand.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What's this other one with the I don't remember if it was a Stephen King IP. The one with the trucks, where like Emilio Estevez was stuck in this truck stop because the cars came alive.
Oh,
you know which one I'm talking about?
Yes, that was. What was the name? It was directed by. It was the only movie he ever directed, I think.
That like there was this main truck that had the Green Goblin face.
Yeah, I think all the automobiles, everything that was machine based, came alive. I think.
Yes, that there was this like military jeep that was communicating with the people using Morse code by firing off the mounted gun. Nice. You know.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it now. I'll have to have a look. But yeah, it was. I think it was the only movie he directed. And there was a reason for that. I think there was an excessive amount of the devil's dandruff being sniffed while he was doing it.
Let's ask Uncle Google. Stephen King.
Right now. Maximum Overdrive, it's called. Maximum Overdrive. That's the movie.
That's the one, right?
That's the movie.
Maximum. Yes.
With the front cover's got the truck.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, like just the Stephen King stuff by itself is, you know, like
Emilio Estevez, Laura Harrington, 1986.
That is the one.
Maximum Overdrive.
That's another movie that scared the crap out of me.
The Mist, I think, is another one, isn't it?
The Mist is a great one.
With half the cast from The Walking Dead in it.
Yes, that's right.
And it starts with the main character being Drew Struzan, the movie poster artist.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he's sitting there. So I can't think of the actor's name now. The one who played Punisher and what was
John Barenthal?
No. Before John, the original, not.
Oh, Thomas Jane.
Thomas Jane, yeah. So he, he's acting as Drew Struzan. And I was watching a doco on Drew Struzan a little while ago, and they interviewed the actor, and he was saying, I had to get coached by Drew Struzan how to hold the brush and how to paint the work.
Oh, look at that!
And he goes, and I still got it wrong. Drew come up and said, no, still didn't get it. Get back, keep doing what you're doing. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. I do love Drew Struzan. He's just such a gentle character like that, but very interesting. It's Thomas Jane.
A lot of fun stuff. A lot of fun stuff from like I think horror movies from the 80s leaning into I would say up until about the mid 90s, mid to late 90s. I think that was like peak horror movie, like, you know what I mean? Because it was like it was just really good horror movies that you could like still sit down and watch today, and it would still,
right. I mean, I think they really do ebb and flow through history when there are times of either war or economic downturn. Horror movies thrive. Horror genre thrives, really.
True.
Like you look at the early ones like Phantom of the Opera. They were all, I suppose, reactions to people coming back scarred from the wars, like losing half the face, having plastic or, plaster replacements for the soldiers' faces. I mean, it was all a commentary on that kind of stuff. But whenever there is that kind of anxiousness, it always comes out in horror. Like it tends to always, for some reason, people watch that as a cathartic sort of response to the world, which is why I think we're seeing a bit of a resurgence of it again. There's a lot of unsurety in the world, and I think people lean on that stuff, right. But I think definitely the height of it in the 80s was that real VHS video shop rental.
Oh yeah,
boom of the, because I mean, you think about it, really, we didn't have, before video shops, we didn't have a straight to video option. Like it was either made it in the movies or you never saw it. It was
true.
It was a back of the drive-in movie. The other side of the drive-in.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? There'd always be one playing behind you. Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
They were fun. Drive-in movie theaters should come back, I think.
We still have a few here in Florida.
Yeah, we got one in Sydney. There's none down here, but it's interesting. I think there was a big resurgence during the whole COVID stuff where drive-in movie theaters were working because you could socially distance and all that stuff,
True. They were fun.
I have a question for you, Kenny. So if you were to do a horror montage yourself, would you do it in color or would you do it in ink or both?
I think that I would lean into ink more so than color.
Yeah.
Simply because I feel as though the black and white aesthetic of using ink and being able to communicate a lot of those gray values with hatching and washing out some of the ink.
I think that would be very pretty.
Adds, it adds to the mood.
Yes.
Of the piece, you know what I mean? It's kind of like the difference between a slasher horror movie versus more of a psychological horror movie.
Right. Yeah.
The psychological aspect is scarier.
Yes, absolutely. The Norman Bates is always a bit creepier.
Yeah, like Norman Bates. Man, honestly, I think that one of the scariest movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
One of the absolutely scariest movies that I've ever seen. It was because of just the psychological aspect of that movie was The Omen.
Yes. Oh yes, the little boy. Yeah.
The Omen.
And you're never sure whether it really is.
Right, because you never get that confirmation. Is it Damien, or is it like the weird nanny?
Yeah, like even at the end of the film, at the funeral, when that little boy turns back to the camera and smiles, you're still not sure.
Exactly.
Like I don't want to leave this place and not know. You mean he's still out there? He's still out there.
You know what I mean? And then that was one of the few movies that when they did the remake was just as good.
Yes. Yeah.
The remake was just as good. I think the OG version of The Omen was scary because of the practical effects, and obviously it was a sign of the times, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So because it wasn't as advanced in, we didn't have the same advancements in filmmaking as we do today. Like a lot of those practical effects, the fact that it felt kind of no frills, I think it adds to the charm.
I think you're right. I think that's, like I watch my favorite of all time is The Thing. Like I can watch John Carpenter's The Thing to death, right? That's my go-to. And it's on my playlist while I'm sitting there painting all the time. Like I'll go from an episode of The Big Bang Theory to The Thing.
There you go.
That's about as bipolar as I become with my art.
But no. I think it's something that's pretty common, right?
Yeah.
With me, it's rerun episodes of The Office, and then I'll watch like the Strain.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How you can jump around, but I think it's just what you're familiar with and what you like,
Sure.
So I'll be I'll have a playlist that goes from 1950s Adventures of Superman, just one episode, then I'll jump to a cartoon like Battle of the Planets, then I'll jump over to The Thing, then Big Bang Theory, like episode of Seinfeld, The Office. So it just kind of moves around.
Oh yeah,
and it doesn't distract me too much, but The Thing, practical effects, like Rob Bottin's effects are just incredible. And you compare that with the later one they did, the prequel. It was good, but it just missed the charm a little bit,
Yep.
But I think a lot of that for me is like, I just loved how in the 80s they would cast people that were not the prettiest of the humans.
True.
Like they look like real people, like I can imagine that guy
like on the street.
Yes, I could see that got that scientist on that and all that doctor on that Arctic station, and they weren't afraid of having sweaty armpits. Like it just
there you go.
What it was. Now everything seems very, very clean and very sanitized, almost in the way they appear.
Have you noticed that there's a lot of sweaty people from the 70s?
Yes.
Everyone was sweaty in the 70s and 80s.
Everyone had a bit of oil layer and they had a bit of pits going on there. The pits. It wasn't unusual for them to lean over you to get something and we got a damp patch. Pitsy McGee is back in action.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like I love watching the older movies, like old westerns and or gangster movies when they have a fight.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of huffing and puffing and rumbling around the floor. That there's no, and people are flying through like Chuck Norris walls or anything. Like there's hard, stressful, dusty, angry wrestling where it's hard to get them around. Like it's not easy. I can associate with not easy. I can connect with that. I thought, I would be struggling, to roll over that guy that's laying on top of me, belting me, like,
especially
or punches completely missing, or they launch in a power kick that doesn't connect, like
Roadhouse.
I love that. Ultimate kick and it misses.
I'm telling you. That's
my fight, And they get up with like split lips and their shirt buttons all ripped. You don't see that nowadays.
Completely inconsistent with the attack.
Yeah.
Completely inconsistent.
Yeah, it's like a complete mess.
But that's what made movies fun.
I was watching an old Jimmy Stewart Western the other day. Old Jimmy Stewart with and he was the man from Laramie. And he got into a punch-up.
I remember that.
Yeah, he got into a massive punch. Great Anthony Mann Western. Highly recommended. Great camera shots. And he gets into this punch-up with this bloke, this other cowboy. and they're rolling around under the horses. There's dust everywhere. There's coughing.
Mhm.
His little wig he's wearing is flopping around everywhere. And they get up and they look a mess. They look sweaty. They look itchy and sore. You know, that's authentic. Like, I would be a mess. The dirt and the dust would stick to the sweat.
Oh, of course.
It would be very unpleasant. And you'd be sore. You'd have the soreness of being hit in the face, and the horse hair stuck to the sore.
Oh, you look like one of the orphans from Beyond Thunderdome.
You look like the feral kid from Mad Max 2.
There you go.
You never spoke properly. Yeah, a mess.
He reminded me of the Neanderthals from that old 80s live action show with the dinosaurs.
Yes. Yeah, Land of the Lost.
Was it Land of the Lost? Yes. Where he was the size of a 13-year-old with a full beard and excessive body hair.
Because they had the cartoon. Was it called Land of the Lost, the Hanna-Barbera one with the little brontosaurus that was their friend, and Ugg was the father. Ugg. He didn't want to go with Bob or John. Like, if you're going to name him, like, he doesn't know. Like, just name him anything. Like, name him Glenn or something. Colin from accounting. Like, you can name him from anything. Glenn from Optus. You know, like, name him.
There you go.
But, yeah. And then they had the live action version of Land of the Lost, remember? With the animated dinosaurs and Chaka. Chaka the little... He looked like Chaka.
There it is.
Boy. Chaka.
Yes, the cave boy, Chaka. Man, today's youth will never know.
Well, they had the Will Ferrell remake. Remember that? And they had Chaka in it.
Yes, yeah, but it was bad. Like I would imagine that, you know, not too many people wanted to go see that.
Chaka.
But yeah, like on Saturdays, right? The class that I have on Saturdays, like my oldest in that group is like 17.
Yeah.
Right. But I got 13 and 14-year-olds in that group that show a genuine appreciation for classic cinema.
Love it.
So they love or prefer practical effects over a lot of the overly processed CGI stuff that we see in movies today. Right?
Yeah, it's made people numb, hasn't it? Like, people are really numb to it now.
Yeah.
It's not special. Like Jurassic Park was special. It's not special anymore.
True indeed.
Like, do you remember when that came out? Like, it just blew everyone's brains. Like, I remember seeing that at the cinema. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What is
Coincidentally, I started watching Ted, the series on Paramount Plus.
Oh, is it any good?
Oh, it's great. It's
great.
It's like a mix of Ted the movies.
Yes.
Right? It's like a mix of the movies and like Family Guy, but live action.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. So coincidentally, they opened up an episode with having just seen the first Jurassic Park movie. And they're like, oh, Steven Spielberg got real dinosaurs. They gave him real dinosaurs for the movie.
There were some crazy people that thought that, you know. Like, what are you doing? What are you thinking?
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But that's a testament. That's a testament to, you know, how those effects work.
Yeah.
Some of those dinosaurs.
Yeah, I love that he never came out and said no. Well, some were, you're right. And I love that he didn't come out and say, no, they're fake. No, you just let people believe.
Yeah. No, you got to.
You got to let them believe.
Absolutely.
They want to believe.
Yeah.
But I love those movies. I look at the ethical and moral lessons of Jurassic Park, but I would still go.
True.
Opening day, I'd still be there and probably die, but I would see a dinosaur. You know, I still go. I still line up. I still get the ticket. Yeah, got the dinosaur hat. Yeah, let's go. Oh, you've got velociraptors. Cool, let's see them. Oh, the fences are down. Let's make a run between buildings. Yay! Like, I'd be dumb. I'd be dumb. I'd be one of the casualties, taken by a pteranodon or something like that and thrown into the ocean. Oh, that's me. Yeah. Yay! Dinosaurs. Stupid. I'd still do it. I would still do it.
I was there. There you are. It's 20 years into the future. You're an amputee. I was there, kid. I was there. I saw it.
I've got the T-shirt. I've joined the PTSD group on Facebook. You know, I'm all over it. You know,
says the Dark Crystal series was a great recreation. I agree.
Yes, it was good. Yeah,
I agree with that. The Dark Crystal was definitely a great recreation, and again, that's even in that one, that's also another testament to how practical effects can still be true to the source material without having to like lean into the CGI stuff. I think people have gotten lazy.
And really interesting too that they tried the CGI to start with and they didn't like it.
Yeah,
it just didn't fit. It didn't fit, and it looked fake. But they got the puppets, and it felt more authentic.
True.
Isn't that weird? But they did the same with Yoda. Remember in the episode?
Yep.
Was it episode 1 or 2? Might have been 2. When episode 1 is too digital, and people are like, I prefer the silicon puppet. You know.
Yep. How's it going, Chris?
We got Chris Borman here. But yeah, I agree. It's the Dark Crystal it's a beautiful universe. I just wish they'd do more of it. It's just very expensive, I think, to make them.
Yeah.
But it was really well done. Skeksis, Opera, you know.
I always love those big.
I always love those long Lance Striders.
Very, very, very impressive stuff. Like, I was really impressed by what the Jim Henson Company did with the original TMNT movie.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Right?
Did you see that at the cinema when that came out?
Say again?
Did you watch that at the movies when it came out?
No, I saw the second one in the movies. I saw the second one in the movies. I like, full disclosure for those watching. Fun fact: my first movie, right, that I saw in theaters was Big Top Pee-wee. Okay. Big Top Pee-wee.
That tells you everything about Kenny that you need to know.
It was Big Top Pee-wee, right? Everything else.
If you think he is the philosopher and the well-read autician, no, he's a Pee Wee Herman fan deep down.
Deep down,
that's his dark secret.
I cannot deny. I did enjoy Mr. Rubens' work as Pee Wee Herman.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Yes, absolutely. That, like, the Adventure of Pee Wee Herman it's easily one of my favorite Tim Burton movies.
Yes. Well, that's right. I always forget that's a Tim Burton film.
Yeah. The dude, like, he's like Tim Burton, like, has, and it's like you can hear every like visually and audibly, it's all the notes that we would grow to love.
Yes.
In like Beetlejuice.
Right. Yeah.
Right? All of the eccentric design and architecture and everything, and then like that's Danny Elfman in the OG like Pee Wee Herman movie. And then Burton, like Adam Sandler, uses a lot of the same actors in all of his movies. Right?
Yeah.
Batman Returns. Right?
Yes.
The Penguin's parents, that was Pee Wee Herman and the girl that he met at the diner that he like hung out with in the dinosaur.
And they had the penguin. So that just tells you there's a few genetical issues. They had a penguin together. We thought we were a good match, but then we had Penguin. We had money, we had fame, and then we had a Penguin kid.
Yeah, then we had a bird boy who was missing some digits.
He turned out to be a serial killer. We put him in the drain. So I don't know. It's a few ethical questions there.
Chris says, my sister has taken a few sculpting and design classes with Wendy Fraud. Wendy is known as the mother of Yoda because she made Yoda for The Empire Strikes Back. That's awesome.
Ah, very cool.
That is fantastic. The Frauds created the creatures for the Dark Crystal. Nice. I thought that was Henson.
Maybe she worked for them, I guess. But yeah, I always thought it was that really, what was his name? That really old guy that did the Yoda, and it made it look like him. Remember? The British.
Yes.
The British.
I know who you're talking about, but I'm spacing out on the guy's name right now.
Yeah. Anyway, it was good anyway, regardless.
Yeah. Useless bit of info. You can only get the original TMNT on video, and maybe one day I'll be a millionaire as I have one. Nice.
Oh.
Nice.
Get that thing slabbed.
Yes. Get it slabbed, throw it in a time capsule.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
In an oxygen-controlled, light-controlled environment.
Optimum.
Indeed. Clear cabinet, soft lighting. All of those things.
UV protection.
UV protection.
Impact glass.
Do not take photos, please. Sign.
So Chris confirms that they were working for the Henson Company when they did the Dark Crystal.
Ah, yes,
that's fantastic. Okay. That I would imagine. Look, I've been doing conventions for about a little over 20 years, right? And one of the things that I've always found to be very, very impressive is the way people dress up in their cosplay. Yeah. And the attention to detail in their cosplay. Like that's real dedication to the fandom.
Well, it's a craft in itself, isn't it? Like it's
absolutely.
They're sculpting, they're pouring, they're casting, they're doing all of that. They're airbrushing it. You know, I saw someone dressed up as a Skeksis on some show once, and they looked amazing. You know?
Oh yeah.
Their arm was the actual neck and head, and then the hump was behind over their head. You know, so they kind of.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so they had that sort of Chamberlain, like, yes, friend, kind of thing going on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very cool. But interesting designs, like very cool.
That I know that it's a very, very. I realized the impact. Rather, I realized its impact when I took Melissa with me to Puerto Rico Comic-Con a couple years back. And keep in mind, Melly comes from a corporate background. She's, she knows very little, if at all, anything about nerd culture. Right? So she was a little bit on the fence.
Yes.
When I brought her with me to Puerto Rico Comic-Con, she's.
And you never know. You never know which way it's going to go.
Exactly, right? And I told her, trust me, I guarantee you're going to see something that you're going to like, and it's going to hit home with you. And
you're also going to see some things that are going to be odd, and don't be afraid.
Yes, I did warn her of that too. You're going to see some things that are going to come off a little weird, right? You're going to see some weird things.
But that's why we're here.
Yes,
the weird's as good.
It's gonna be a mixed bag. All right. So don't fret. And sure enough, 10 minutes into us having set up the table, I'm kind of warming up with a drawing, and she was sitting next to me, just kind of, observing people walking past the table. And there was a group of girls, like friends, that coordinated their cosplay to look like the Sailor Scouts.
Right.
And I saw the look in her face as her eyes lit up, and I'm like, see, I told you. I guarantee it's going to be something that's going to hit home with you. Right? And moments later, we saw a guy walk past dressed as one of the Peaky Blinders.
I thought you were going to say dressed as Sailor Moon, but I don't know why I thought you were going to say that. Sometimes it is also shocking.
Well, yeah. Well,
yeah.
you know, I
That's your
also
thing.
I did warn her that like in the really big convention that's held here in Miami Beach, you're gonna see all kinds of things there. Like
Yes.
that's you know, it's not as controlled as it would be anywhere else. You know, people take a lot of liberties in the bigger shows.
There's
A
a
lot
lot
of
of what we
liberties.
call appropriation.
Yes. Yes. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen videos of this, right? I'm a native New Yorker for those of you that don't know. So like, Will, if you ever are on Instagram and you look at any accounts or meme accounts that are based out of New York and they show you about some of the things that go on in the subway in New York.
No.
Oh man.
I need to have a look.
It's gold.
Now right? I need a deep dive.
That, you know, me in the last few years, and I'm almost certain that like it still goes on today. In your commute in the subway, I can guarantee you you're always going to see something that's really weird, off the cuff, eccentric. Yeah. That's going to make your commute that much more interesting on a daily basis. Right? There was one night. There was one night I'm on the F train and I'm heading into the city, right? And it's about 10 p.m. I'm heading into the city, and then this guy comes in, right? And he's wearing this outfit that makes him look like a short little Mexican man riding a big horse.
Oh,
right. So
I see. So he got the fake legs.
So he's got the fake legs, right? And then the horse.
I love the fake legs.
I love it. The horse has a whole like skirt. Has a whole skirt around the legs.
Yes.
And it's got the little tassel balls. Little fuzzy balls at the base of the skirt. So as soon as the doors open up, you hear boom, boom. Next stop is going to be Franklin Avenue. This, that, and that. He comes in, and as soon as the announcer's done saying their announcement, he starts beatboxing "Oye como va" at the top of his lungs, right? As he pretends to be trotting through the train car on his fake horse.
That's hilarious. So he's kind of doing the
sombrero and handlebar mustache.
He's doing the tiny step trot, the little prance. He's doing a prance.
Yes, he was doing the little prance with the fake horse. It was great.
Like he's a Caballo stallion rider.
I'm telling you.
I love it. See more of that, less of everything else. That's what I say. More of that stuff, you know.
You're gonna see all kinds of stuff on the subway.
I got tears. I got tears rolling. But that is Comic-Con. Like you get the random. The only difference is the subway is such a conservative, normal environment. People can't do it from work, and then you got the Caballo dancer.
Yes,
with his high step and Philly.
The high steppers.
High step and Philly.
Oh man, I tell you,
we've all had a high step and Philly in our life at one time or another.
Oh, great!
I got tears. Man. Funny how to paint.
Chris said, so their son Toby Fraud was the baby Toby in the Labyrinth.
Yes,
the frauds made the creatures in that movie too. Oh wow!
Oh, there you go.
That's really cool. Very, very cool. I like that. It's a small world, man, and you know, again, the craftsmanship that goes into cosplay, that goes into puppeteering. That's
incredible.
That's incredible. It's absolutely like an underrated craft in itself, in understanding and engineering that kind of stuff for cinema.
Even the mechanics underneath the styrofoam, like just how they operate in the eyes, and you look at nowadays where a lot of that's obviously computer chips and stuff making those things work, but my God,
Oh yeah.
it's just next level, you know.
Oh yeah.
Making the eyes blink and the skin breathe and move, and yeah, it's incredible. Like the stuff that Stan Winston do, still with practical effects and robotics and puppetry, amazing. And if you ever want to do a cool course on that stuff, I've done a few Stan Winston courses.
Ooh, okay.
On sculpting, really cool school, because what you do is you go into their site, and we're not paid promoters of Stan Winston by any means, but when you go into their site, you can choose the course you want. They have sales. They're like $60 to do a course, and it's hours and hours of knowledge and content. Everything from sculpting to airbrushing to drawing to robotics to casting and pouring, you name it. Even cutting like large dinosaurs out of styrofoam, very cool sort of stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, super affordable and really good because you can stream it and do it at your own pace, which suits me because, as you know, I live an insane life. So doing things when you can do them is always the best way of learning for me. But yeah, very cool, man. I mean, if you should reach out and check them out. They're really good.
Where can we find that, Will?
So Stan Winston School of, I want to say it's creative arts or something. I'll put the link in the chat. Hang on, let me do it.
Okay, I'll
do that now. We've gone on some big tangents today.
We have.
School. Stan Winston School of Character Arts. Here it is.
Okay. Stan Winston School of Character Arts.
I love that you respond like the grandpa of Lost Boys. Nobody touches the bottom shelf but me. There we go. I'll just put it in the chats.
Very nice.
Yeah, but worthwhile checking out. They've got some excellent artists that do their presentation. They're really well put together.
Oh, good deal.
Yeah, and it's all online. I sort of discovered them a few years ago because I was looking at sort of expanding my brain in teaching with casting and pouring and resin and all that stuff.
Right.
And they got some really cool courses on that.
So, Will, I see that you're working in the browns and ochres into the shoulder pad in Man-at-Arms armor right now.
Yes.
But your fill color for your face looks to be like a almost like a sea moss.
Yes.
Why is that?
So what I've done is I put, because he's got a lot of green happening on him, I put in a very, very light wash of a mix between raw sienna and the green that I'm using and a bit of Prussian blue. So what that will do is give me a nice cool sort of response, as in cool in temperature response to what's going on around him. Because there's a lot of intense heat in terms of the color. Like the orange is very bright and hot, and the cool will then add in a depth behind it. So when I'm doing my shadows, I often have Prussian blue or Viridian green in the shadows, and what that does is it pushes everything back, whereas the hot will always push forward. So it's a back and forward between those two areas. So I wash that in first. So when I do my next layers now and I start building up those flesh tones, it's got something to bite onto. And it's a quick reminder to me where my light source is coming from, because I've got two light sources. As you can see on his shoulder pad, it's being lit up by that explosive little drone at the bottom.
Yep.
If you remember. And I haven't had it on screen much today, but yeah, that one down the bottom. So it's been lit up by that, and it's been lit by the sun, I'm having coming from this direction here. So it's going to have a double light source. So the green and the Prussian blue in there is just, it provides a local color. It all links together, but it also is a visual reminder to me that that's where I'm going to go cool. I need to go cool there all the time. And it's always good to change it up for each painting. So I'm enjoying the Man-at-Arms, although I've got to admit, orange and greens are a real struggle with my gouache. It's just the way I operate with them. I find them, they get very muddy and gluggy and sometimes a bit syrupy. So
I'm seeing a lot of the same on my end as well.
Right. They tend, like, you've got to constantly be working up your cadmium reds in with your orange when you're adding your dark. And you've got to add in your yellows with your whites when you add in your highlights. So you're constantly toning up, toning down, up and down the range. You can't just add white to it, otherwise you end up with a real muddy, creamy flesh tone mess almost, because orange will always lean towards that light flesh tone when you add white to it. But does that answer the question?
Absolutely. I just found it interesting because I just happened to look over at the screen.
Yeah,
I noticed that you threw in that mix as your base, and I'm like, wow. So so using that as your base layer, you're able to jump in there with warmer tones on top of that and adjust your ratio to be more paint, less water.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
I got you.
Oh, Laura's asking. Hey, Laura, welcome. Are you both working with gouache?
Yes. So, fun fact, Will, Miss Laura Toby is a young lady, wonderful young lady that used to be my employer here in Miami. So it is through her that I was able to start working with kids. So she is the wonderful individual that opened me up to the world of teaching art to kids. So without her, I wouldn't have advanced as far as I have in recent years. So shout out to you, Laura. I love you very, very much.
And what a gift she's given those kids. And to add on to that, any complaints, please send them to Laura. We'll put the email address up on the screen. Any future lawsuits because of the damage that can be done to the art world? No. Honestly, if I could have my kids taught by you, man, that would be an amazing thing. I mean, that's I would have my children at that school lined up for sure.
Oh, man,
that's why I think you need to get some online courses going. That's what we need to work on.
No, for sure. Yeah. But
the Calderon is worldwide.
Yes. And then the cult of Calderon will have we'll have amassed an army strong enough to take over the world, right?
Yes.
Before you know it, there'll be like large paintings of me like sitting atop a steed.
That's right. There won't be a customizable Funko Pop. There will just be the Funko Pop of the Calderon. King Calderon.
Oh man. But yeah, Lau. So Will primarily does all of his work in gouache.
Yes.
Right? Which is why throughout the course of these art challenges, I'll ask him certain questions on like, for example, why he mixes his paint the way he does, while he'll use certain tones as his underpainting, and then kind of work outward from there. Now I'm doing a mix of both watercolor and gouache, right? So what I did was I did my base colors in watercolor, right? And now I'm layering on top of that with some gouache tones so that I can get like some richer areas based on my lighting and what visual effects I want to convey in the figure.
Yes, and they work well together. They're such nice family members, the watercolors and gouache. Because that's what they are. Gouache is an offshoot from that in many respects.
Yeah,
There's more white in the mixture.
that's true.
So
So
they work well.
So I don't know if you guys can see that too well, but some of my pencil lines, right, are peering through. Well, when this focuses, come on, focus. There we go. So some of my pencil lines will be peering through my base layer of watercolor. So since I have that in place, and I basically used the layer of watercolor as my underpainting, so to speak, right?
Yes.
So I can map out what my color palette's going to be, where my values are, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go in with some heavier tones of gouache to not only cover up some of those ghost pencils, right, but to get like a richer layer on top of the watercolor. So I get a nice sort of like uh, wave effect of like watercolor into gouache and so forth, right? Because we can kind of blend those together really well.
And you're working in a bit of ink later on too, don't you?
Yeah. So after all of that is rendered, I use ink applied by brush for the heavier blacks, and then I'm going to do all of my line art with a quill. This
Nice.
beautiful little contraption right here. Just for my fine values, my fine little details, rather.
So, and it just makes it pop, doesn't it? With your one,
It
just gives
does.
it a solid bit. And in saying that too, I sometimes work in a little bit of pencil in at the end. Like if I
Yes.
just want to push something just a little bit further, and I don't want to add too much gouache in, because sometimes, yes, just like Laura's saying, yes, sometimes it reactivates, and I don't want to lose or lift up what I've done.
Right.
Yeah, so I work, Laura, so primarily I work in one area building up my layers. So as you can see, I'm putting my initial wash down. Then I start to build up the solid areas of my layer, sort of building up the textures, and in my mind, the weight of how something may feel. But then this will settle. I'll let it settle for a week. Not that it needs a week, probably only needs a day or so, but I'll go on to other things, and then I'll come back to it next stream, and then I will just redefine some of those heavy layers. And it may activate a little bit, but not too much. Usually by then it tends to settle in, and tends to stabilize, because the paper tends to dry out a little bit as well. So it just allows the trauma to the paper to slow down, and also the gouache to settle down a bit. But the reactivation of the gouache is the reason I love it so much, is because I can go back and forward from my teaching duties to my dad duties to painting, and I can jump between projects as well, and it's not that big of a hassle to work on top. Watercolor for me doesn't work that way. I can't get the same results I'd like, that gouache gives me, and I find with gouache it gives me a nice, I'm not going to say a poor man's oil paint, but it certainly gives me a solidity that I would get out of oil paints, that I don't have the time always to build the layers that oil paints would need. So especially commercially, like I'd love to do oils as covers, but they just take so long to dry, especially in our winters. We're looking at a week to 2 weeks between layers. So I find it a bit more of a tricky medium. I love oils, but gouache is kind of my go-to now, because it gives me something that's painterly but nice and solid at the same time.
Well put. Very well put. So
So
in a
if you are
nutshell,
joining us for the first time, Kenny, I'm just going to give us a little bit of
yeah.
a re-intro, because we're now at the 1 hour 14. It just flies by, doesn't it? Especially when we go on side shoot rants about pop culture. If you're joining us for the first time on our live stream, so Kenny and I are moving through different properties. We've got a list that's probably going to last till we're in our 90s of properties we're going to be working through. But our first one is Masters of the Universe, or Motu, as it's more popularly phrased as in the world of animation and toy collecting. We just love the colors and the characters. We're going to move through Motu 52 and the realms of Eternia one image at a time. So Man at Arms, is he number 4, 3 or 4?
I think he's
number
he's
4.
number 4. Because we had what was it? It was Beastman, He-Man, Merman, and now Man at Arms. So who's next on our list? Well,
I'm bringing it up. Here we go. So we've got, as we move through, we got Beastman, we had He-Man, Merman. And if you're ever unsure about what some of our images look like, you can always go to the Artists of the Universe. I screwed that up. Artists of the Universe Facebook site or group. Join up with us, and you can see updates of not only ones we're doing, but other people. Like our friend Nate Stones, the artist, he's just flying ahead. He's up to I don't know what he's up to now, like 25 or something, 26 he's done. Amazing number. He is. He's just cranking them out. So Man at Arms is here. The next one is the Boss Man Skeletor. So
nice.
It's going to be a different palette altogether with lots of purples and blues, and lime greens, and all those kind of temperature change. Yep. And then we've got my boy Stratos, which is after that. So we've got a few good ones coming, and hopefully after we've done our 52 of these challenges, we we'll have some way of getting it out to people in terms of publication, but our own publications. But you can buy the original on our respective Etsy stores.
Yes, sir.
Did I miss anything?
No. So, guys, if you guys are curious regarding where you can purchase the originals, Wild Inks Studios, all one word, on Etsy. You can find that there. And for Will, it's the art of Will Clayton on Etsy as well. And that's your handle on all socials, correct, Will?
You got it. So I made it easy for myself. There's nothing worse than getting on and constantly have to redo passwords that I've forgotten. So I needed to make it all the same. So it's art of Will Clayton on everything. And to help us out, Kenny and I, if you can help us out, please obviously share what we do, because that's the greatest gift to any artist. But also jump on, like and subscribe our channels on YouTube. That's always a big boost to what we do as we move towards perhaps even potentially monetizing our channels, which is always a helpful thing.
Yep.
Helps keep the lights going. And share it. Click notify too, so you know when we're going on live.
Absolutely. And
jump on with us, paint, draw with us. I love that.
Yes, we very much encourage that. All right. Should you guys have any questions regarding the process, you can always drop that in the chat. And if we don't get to your question live on stream, you can always message us directly on our respective social media channels. Yes,
absolutely. And Laura says, interesting things. I was telling Kenny about the reactivation when we spoke this week. And yet oil is quite a tyrant. Yes, it is. And intimidating. It can be very intimidating. I mean, it really is. If you consider this, it really is the Mercedes-Benz or the Bentley of the art world. I mean, it commands a lot of attention to the discipline and developing, but it also commands a price too when you're selling your work. And it's got the reputation of archiving well, which some of watercolors and gouache don't have that reputation yet, because we haven't got down that pathway as far as, a Rembrandt. So time will tell whether our acid-proof paper, soft lighting, cabinets, arm guards, no cameras please signs, whether we get that far with it,
But I think it's getting there. I think it's getting there. I mean, if acrylic painters, like painters that just do acrylic, right? Yes. They're able to, sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Elevate, the use of the medium in recent years, just due to, I guess, accessibility.
Yes.
And the way they manipulate the medium. Right, because I think that also plays a factor too, like how
and the development of the actual pigments in the medium itself too. Like you're not dealing with student quality paints always. When you are working professionally, they've actually got affordable and available to you acrylics that work well. I mean, you look at someone like Greg Staples, who does all the covers for Judge Dredd and 2000 AD, and I think he's doing some stuff now for DC, I think, or Marvel. But yeah, he primarily works in acrylics. That's how he made his name, sort of being of the realm of Simon Bisley and all those guys. But he, he does some beautiful work in acrylics. But again, you can, you're almost getting enough palette variation as oils now in terms of colors, which is good.
True. So, Will, what are you doing right now, right this moment?
With Man at Arms?
Yes, like regarding your rendering there with the armor.
Well, I've sat in my little safety chair for way too long, as I often do. Just playing and noodling away. There are some changes I'll make, but I think I'm going to let that settle now for a bit before I traumatize it. I'm going to jump now down. See that pelt that he has under his shoulder pad?
Yep.
You can't see yours because you're around the corner. You might have a couple of little flyaways. This is floating in the air, but he's got his basically he's doubled his underwear up as shoulder pad pelts, which is concerning in some ways. But yeah, anyway,
it was the excess. It was the excess. He had extra material.
I want to say that, or he made the shoulder pad ones first, and maybe if bit. I want to think he's got the felt underneath the armor, and he's probably thought, I'm going to make some undies out of this, and I'm going to run around in them, and I'm going to run around in those undies, and the undies are going to sit on top of my green tights. Again, interesting wardrobe choices, Man at Arms.
And I dare someone to say something about it.
And I dare you, because I'm going to trim my moustache, and I'm going to be all about it. So let's go.
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to start on his armor, as you can see right now, down here, because once that has dried, next week I will overlay the pelt on top of it.
Sweet.
So it's always about putting in those back areas first and then bring it on top, which is the opposite to drawing. Generally in drawing, we start from foreground to background. Painting, we work from background to foreground.
Right. So I'm doing something similar.
I love that leg piece you've done too.
Thank you. Right. Yeah, because I wanted, like I mentioned, I wanted it to feel worn, right? Yeah. So that there's like dents, and scratches and stuff in the armor. So like I want to communicate that a little bit with some values.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll add will be obviously the line art with the ink and some of the chipped edges of the armor with like some white ink, right? So I can get some nice highlights out of that. What I'm doing right now is touching up some of these gray portions of the armor with purple, right? But the purple is watercolor and not gouache.
Right.
However, I'm using very, very little water in the purple so that I can get that nice transparency in the layer, right, without waking up the gouache again.
Yes. So, the sleeping giant.
Yeah, the sleeping giant, indeed. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over some areas with some watercolored white, right? Just so I can pull out some of the high tones and communicate a little bit of shape language in the areas that are curved. I'm still deciding what I want to do with his face because I want to push maybe the center of his face into some shadow.
Nice.
Right?
Yep.
Because I'm getting a light source behind him.
Yep.
Then I'm gonna bounce down to the robots that are on the ground and start dropping some heavier shadows into the floor there.
Yes.
But I like to bounce around so that like if I just worked on the mace, I'll allow the mace to sort of dry and settle, and then I'll jump into something else. I don't like noodling too much.
Yes.
No knock on will. No knock on will.
No, but it's great that you've learned from my sad addiction to noodling in one area for too long. It would be very boring if we both sat on one piece of armor for the entire live stream. Why?
Yes.
Why are they both overworking the cod piece? Why?
And then we'll get we can get the announcer voice from like from one of those public access channels.
Yeah.
On today's episode of the Motu 52, Will and Kenny paint knee pads. Let's watch.
The Bob Ross intro.
Just let that happy little knee pad live wherever.
Yeah, just hey little knee pad. Hey. Everybody needs a little knee pad in their life.
Want to protect those knees.
I think that as I'm painting, his fur pelt on his underwear. Yeah.
Gotta protect those knees.
Let's get a little knee pad and a little bearskin underwear. Everybody needs it. Yeah, he's such an interesting dude to watch. Like, I'm not a big Bob Ross painting fan. I don't really like his paintings, but I just love listening to him. And the bits I love is when he goes crazy with the brush, like whacking it against the easel.
Oh, yeah.
Bob Ross got a bit of inner demons. He's not talking about.
That's ASMR before ASMR was a thing.
Right. I'm pretty sure he's covering the camera guy with terps and oil paint, like highly toxic, but that's okay. They're all dead now. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. On the easel every time.
Uh-huh. When he whips out the fan brush, I know that's like his favorite brush in his kit, the fan brush.
Oh, he loves it. He loves it. He moves around. I do love how he skims over. I get addicted to watching him skim over the mountains with that palette knife.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I'm
like, you get that
satisfying. Yeah, choof, and a little bit left behind. Yeah, it's good.
Oh,
I had it playing in my classroom the other day, and they go, Play-Doh, because the kids call me Play-Doh. They go, Play-Doh, do you paint like that? I go, no, but he does. That's all. That's all we have to talk about. Yeah. No, but he do that. Funny.
Oh, you gotta love kids.
Do you paint like that? No, but he does. And that's all. That's all that we need to think about now.
Funny. Get some of the soft white in here. Now, for those of you that are like just joining us, right? When I use watercolor white, it's never gonna be that bright.
Yeah.
Ever. It only starts off that way, but it's gonna dry with some transparency to where we'll still be able to see the jewel of the red underneath that. Now, if I wanted some really, really like lush and vibrant whites, I use this. I use some white ink. This is Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof white. I use this for my lush hardcore whites.
Dr. P.R. Mason, is it?
Indeed.
Like, felt the need to put the doctor on there. Like,
right, because why would you go to like ink school for 8 years?
Right.
To be called Mister.
Right. Let's be serious here. I'm not going to go down to like Windsor and Newton when I can go to the doctor.
That's right.
Because the doctor knows. He's the good doctor.
That's right.
Felt the need to put the doctor. Doctor, man at arms. I mean, it doesn't quite have the same. No one cares. No one cares you're the doctor in the Masters of the Universe. Dr. Orko. What?
What do you
mean? What do you mean, Dr. Orko? Doctor what?
So Will, I managed to finish off the series, the He-Man series.
Oh, did you like it?
So for the most part, yeah.
I love it. I think
do
we're in the
have some
same place
issues.
with it.
I do have some issues with certain aspects, right?
Yeah.
But
I have
for the
issues
most,
with Kevin Smith's writing in general. Like, I just find it a bit hard to gel with.
yeah. I think the aspect of him attempting to sort of like modernize
Yeah.
certain elements of the IP
Yes.
is where I take issue with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Right? Like He-Man didn't need a reskin.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's He-Man, bro. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think
you
everyone
know?
feels that. I don't think you're saying anything out of the box. I think everyone feels that. I think people go, "Oh, it's nice to see the characters on screen," but yeah, you know, cool.
Exactly. It's like
Cool.
when they tried to reskin He-Man in the 80s into the 90s, it didn't work.
Yeah, just leave it. Like, I just don't understand why, because apparently the guy that approached him is a huge, from Netflix, is a huge Masters of the Universe guy. Like, that's why Kevin got the gig, and and why it was going ahead. I just don't understand why you just can't. Like, the designs were good already. Like, I just don't understand why you just can't tell stories within that universe without killing half the characters and without like I don't know. I like Mark Menardin. He's one of the writers.
Right.
And I've listened to him. He's very intelligent, has incredible ideas, but I think he's just very much a frustrated film creator and has to make these big decisions that are going to shock everyone into, like I think sometimes you can be too smart for your own good.
Right.
Like, just calm down, leave the ego at the door, and let's just make some fun stories. You can still do some cool adventures.
I agree.
And using the characters the way they are, there's many of them. You don't need to kill half them off in season one.
Right.
Like, I just think you're just cutting your own Achilles heel. I just don't think it's necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
You're cutting off your story potential, right? Because even if, like, say for example, you kill off Skeletor, kill off Skeletor season one, there's still a bevy of villains that you could use later on. Like, for example, I really liked what they did with Hordak.
Yeah.
Like Hordak in the show, even in the original run, like with She-Ra and stuff, like Hordak was a very, very cool character, and he was easily one of my he became easily one of my favorite villains.
Yes.
Right.
Agreed.
I can understand the I guess the conflict of sorcery versus tech.
Yes, I like that too.
I dug that. How it affected Skeletor. Okay, I was on board, right? I was on board.
Yeah.
He-Man didn't need a technical upgrade.
Addition to the sword, yeah.
In addition to the sword, like the sword didn't need to transform.
No, you didn't need glow sticks to attach your sword. You don't need it.
Like like I don't know. I felt like it was too much sugar. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that's it wasn't enough substance. Like there wasn't enough substance. It was too much eye candy. Too much flashing lights, and you know what I mean.
I just felt when they did that, they departed from what made He-Man cool.
100%.
I loved He-Man as a kid because it was barbarian and it was a warrior and it had these other warrior guys, but had a little bit of sorcery and tech, but almost like antiquitech, like ancient tech that they kind of half figured out how to use it still on the planet. I love
Right.
that about it.
Because it had
But
that vibe of like feeling like it was like a pocket dimension that was like lost in
yes,
time.
right. And I feel like that Eternia universe had some sort of reset where they had forgotten, much like today, where there's elements around the planet that we still don't know how they created back then. They don't know how they cut those blocks of stone and shaped them and put them in place. We still don't have the technology to do that now. Like there has been some sort of reset in history. So I love that about the He-Man world. I don't think it was necessary to lean so heavy on the tech because of the kids today. I think I don't think that's necessary. Like, I don't need to see some of the cool characters like Trapjaw and Triclops completely taken over by biotech, or Skeletor with this weird sort of Akira arm that he's got now, like Tetsuo arm growing out of him. That I'm like, what? The things I loved about Skeletor are gone. His cool, simple bone armor, and his, like, I love the Keldor stuff. I think that's was a cool sort of intro. That was a nice twist.
Yeah.
But and I felt like because he'd gone so heavy-handed in season 1 and destroyed half the villains and the heroes, there was a kind of an attempt to recover that. Like, oh, look, there's Fisto and Clamchamp running as ghosts, and now they're okay, but they're still in heaven. Oh, I don't want that. I want them running around the universe.
Sure.
That's where I thought, the animation's fun. Like, that was cool. I didn't even mind what they did with Teela this time around with the sorceress and the love interest. I thought that was good. But at the end of it, I was like, it didn't land for me, because still half the universe is dead. You've destroyed the royal family, and yes, Kevin Smith's put in a heart attack in there, like he does at everything, because that's what he nearly died of, and his dad died of. I get it, but I just feel like it's at the end of it. I was like, where's the Eternian fantasy realm that we had? It's all kind of gone.
Right. Like, I was on board with the whole plot line about the gods.
Yes.
Right. The three gods. Like, I was.
Which went nowhere. It went nowhere. It wasn't even.
I would have liked to have seen like where that was going.
Yeah. It went really nowhere.
That arc was dope.
Yeah. It's almost like he'd gone into season 2, hearing the backlash from season 1, had to do a bit of a recorrect, and that became the focus instead of cleaning up some of those plot lines. But I don't know. I think sometimes, and I don't know, I'm not in those writers' rooms. I would never even pretend to know what that's like.
Right.
And I imagine there are probably a lot of voices and chefs at that table. But I think, like I said, you can get too smart for yourself, and you get away from telling good stories. It's more about what little hooks can I put in there, and what little social commentary can I put in there to push my own thing. And and I feel like he does that a lot, and it works for Clerks, and it works for Yoga Hoses and his other properties that he's done, but not with He-Man.
The reason why it works with that stuff is because that stuff is a little more grounded,
and it is social commentary. Like, it's the ordinary. You can't do that with something as epic as He-Man or Star Wars, or it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. I was like, just calm down, read the mini comics again, and do something out of that. Like, you've got all these resources at your fingertips.
Exactly. I don't understand what it is with, like, productions and studio houses, like running away from source material.
You're right. And even now they announced some of the plot ideas for the new He-Man movie they're doing. And they talked about the fact that he's a human that crashes on Earth, raised as a human. I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
what is that?
What are you even doing? Like, you've got all this stuff there that's actually proven to work. Have you not learned anything from Disney or these other companies that are Lucasfilm that are making these big bumbling mistakes? Like, with properties that, yes, they are hard. That the mythos of Star Wars is very hard to understand if you're not understanding, Joseph Campbell and spirituality and all that different stuff. But But honestly, I mean, you got such rich source material, you shouldn't be able to go too wrong, except when you start going in directions that was not intention and not having consultation people with George Lucas sitting there with you.
Right. You know what I think it is? Well, I think it's the fear that the audience won't relate to He-Man as a character.
Yeah.
You know, because they'll look at they'll look at IPs that have been very successful in the past, right? Like you could look at Batman, right?
Yes.
People
Yeah.
relate to Batman because he's a regular guy. He's just got a lot of money, and
Yeah.
he's trained to be this badass, right?
Yeah.
And then they make the argument about how Superman isn't relatable because of the fact that he's almost near omnipotent,
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
you make the comparison of like Daredevil, for example, a very grounded,
Right.
for the most part, character who's a blind ninja, for example.
Yes.
Save for his his metahuman hearing, right, and radar sight. He's a regular guy.
Yes. Yeah.
So like to do the whole crash, and it'll fail, and I'll tell you why it'll fail, because they tried to do the same thing with shoot, it's on the tip of my tongue. This guy Carpenter from Mars.
All right.
That is the reverse the reverse Superman story.
Oh yes,
Where
right.
he was a human guy that landed on Mars, and like he it was like the play off of Tarzan or the
Yes.
Superman like mythos,
And a very old pulp character, like
yeah, that worked well in the newspaper serials,
yeah,
but trying to take something so fantastical and add elements of realism just for the sake of the audience feeling like they can connect with the character is going to do the IP a disservice.
right. And some things are meant for a period of time, like
of course,
if you're gonna do Dick Tracy and the Phantom, don't bring it now. Do it then.
Yeah,
just do a timepiece. Do a timepiece set in the 50s or 40s or 30s or something. Like you don't have to do it in 2024. Like it doesn't have to be right now. People just want to see a good story.
At all.
Do a Superman from then.
Exactly. Dick Tracy for me was one of those movies that worked just because it felt like it was, something out of the comics. Like it's like the page out of the book was in motion for me.
Right. Yes. Because they set it in the time period. It wasn't
correct.
Same with Rocketeer. It's a fun, easy watch.
Rocketeer, that was another great one.
Easy watch because they set it in the time period it was meant to be in. They didn't try and remodernize him, didn't try to change everything about the character to fit social agendas. They just told the story as it was,
That's right. But, what do we know?
What do we know? We're just the consumers and the creators.
What do we know?
What do we know? But yes, I don't know when those lessons will drop with Disney and people like that. I don't know, but surely the sales are telling them something.
Yeah. Hopefully, that idea for the new Masters of the Universe movie never sees the light of day. Unless it gets heavily retconned into being closer to the source material.
Like I would rather see a series like Game of Thrones was on HBO.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I mean, then you could really deep dive all of the environment,
Of course.
And if you are listening right now, Kenny and I are happy to be consultants.
100%.
And we would love to help you bring it into reality.
Absolutely. Because right there, like like for example, one of the things that I really, really enjoyed about the He-Man series that Kevin Smith wrote was the backstory to Skeletor.
Yes.
They never did that with the cartoon show back in the day.
They did the one from 2000s.
The one from 2000, yes.
That had the Keldor stuff in it, which was really cool. But
you know
I love that. I thought, oh, now I know why he's got no face, but still runs around with his. Because I could never figure out as a kid why he's got a skull, but what's going on with the rest of the body? Like he's got these blue muscles. That I had to try and find reason in these things. But and I love that they actually showed that on the Kevin Smith cartoon. They showed his face melting off. I was like, yes,
which was really cool. I love that part. So Chris Borman says, "Oh, Disney wanted to change everything about the Rocketeer, but Dave Stevens stood his ground. They wanted a motorcycle space helmet."
Yeah.
What?
Of course I did.
That's insanity.
It is. And like, how iconic is that helmet? Like,
insanity.
That's a property I'm surprised no one's touched again.
Well, there's a series. There's an animated series on Disney Plus.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. But the
I bet you it's not on that one. I don't think we've got that in the Australian one.
Yeah, there's an animated series on Disney Plus where the main antagonist is a young girl. Protagonist rather, is a young girl. Yeah. So she's like taking over the mantle. She's taking over the mantle of the Rocketeer. And I only know this because, one day, like we were here and we were, I was home, I was working, and every so often my grandbaby likes to come into the room and she likes to watch on Papa's TV. You know what I mean? That's how she says, "I want to watch on Papa's TV," and I can never tell her no. So he's
got the fun shows. He's got the fun shows on his
TV. She likes being able to kind of like lounge in the bed, and then I have like this 60, 64, 65-inch TV in the room. So it's like, it's her own little movie theater.
Nice.
So she was watching it, and I'm like, wow, they got the Rocketeer on here. This is interesting.
Yeah, I'd have to check it out.
Yeah,
we don't always get the full package out here with things.
No,
it's mainly to do with Rupert Murdoch because he controls one of the cable television shows channels. So he gets preference, I think, before Apple or the streaming network. So unfortunately, it goes through him first. He controls everything. The world controls the world. So, just working up this armor around the face now. But I'm going to do the same. I'm going to come through with some grey and silvery colours and do some damage. Do some cuts and chips and scratches in the Juco. What are you doing with all the tech on his chest there? Are you just going to go straight orange, or are you going to add colour to it?
No. I'm gonna keep it straight orange. But like what you're doing, I'm going to pull some of the color out so I get some dents, right? Like what I did here. So I get like some dents, some scratches, some wear and tear, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do the same thing here with this leg armor. But now that most of my fills and values are in for Man-at-Arms, I'm gonna move over to the background with the droids and such. And
are you going thicker than that, or are you going to keep it as a wash
for Man-at-Arms?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go a little thicker than this.
Yes,
but I wanna let that set. I don't want the paper to start peeling on me.
Yeah. Yes.
So I'm gonna grab my big round brush and jump into what I got on the ground here.
I would love to see your artwork in a coloring in book for adults.
Ooh,
because
interesting.
I would sit down and paint one of your drawings. The poses are great, and I think I just want to have a go. I want to have a play.
That is interesting, Will. I like that.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Huh.
A table idea for you? Adult coloring in book.
Indeed.
When you see him at the convention next weekend, demand one.
those adult coloring books, they do very, very well.
Yes, and reasonably affordable to get developed. You know.
Yeah.
You've already got your pen and ink work, and you're printing in black and white. The only, because I've done them before, I've done coloring books before. The only affordability is, or the only cost really, is the quality of the paper, because you want it to be a bit thicker.
Sure.
So that it handles the markers or the pencil or the paint if they want to use it.
So I would imagine the page count would need to be relatively low, right, to suit a heavier paper quality. No.
Let's see. I did 4 like large. They were large, so probably A3 in size, which is bigger a little bit bigger than 11x17s.
Right.
And I did a dinosaur one. I did a wildlife of the world. I had a horse one that I did, and I did an Australian wildlife one. And so I had a fully painted cover, which we had used nice hard cardstock on the front and back, so it was supported. And then the paper quality inside was thicker to hold the watercolors. So I kept the pages though. I mean, it would have been. Let me see. I wonder if I've got one floating around here. I don't. Oh, I've got the smaller one. Mm-hmm. We did a travel one. Here it is here.
Interesting.
So that's the travel one we did with the Australian wildlife. But I'm not sure how many pages were in there, but there's enough in there for kids to colour in.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, it's just pen and ink work. Right, and just heavier paper. But I mean, you just knock a little bit of the tone out, so you're just really going darks and lights.
Right.
For that, you know. But I reckon you could do that with your convention stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, but yeah, we did large ones of those. Like I sort of drew them, and my wife, as a designer, got them print ready and put them all together. And we just sold them on Amazon, and they sold really well. But
sweet.
And that worked right in the lockdown COVID stuff. Like we were selling those on Amazon. But they would go well at your convention table, man.
No, I think so. I get a lot of kids. I get a lot of kids stuff from that. Yeah, Lau, I'm gonna definitely look into that. Because I've already
you got Laura. You got Laura in your corner.
Yeah, because I've already put out volume 1 of the art book. Volume 2 is in process. I'm putting together all of the images for that, and I got another book project on the horizon that I'm currently working on. So there's definitely room for a coloring book.
Yes. Well, imagine if you had as a companion piece to your art book. So you had the black and white coloring version. And then they could buy that. So they could buy your finished one, and you could have like a little QR code on the back to go to your YouTube site, and you could have lessons on how to make those pictures. There you go, Kenny. I've just made you another $1 million.
There you go.
Another $1 million.
Yeah, I got to cut you in. You in?
I'm all about Kenny's retirement fund. Thanks, man.
Checks in the mail.
That's what we do. I just work on Kenny's retirement fund every week. That's what I think about all day long. So one day when you come to an Australian convention, you'll have coloring books ready to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Drawings on watercolor paper and sell them as individual pages as a promo for your upcoming. I love that idea.
There you go.
I love that idea.
So look, I'm just glad that you've got Laura and I and Mel doing all the thinking for you here. So it's.
I absolutely love that idea.
I just don't know what else you do.
A plan is forming. I love that idea, actually. Okay. It's gonna be a busy quarter.
Yes.
A busy quarter.
Just when you thought you were going to rest, you went on
Rest,
the
he
live stream
says.
and got 15,000 more different things to do.
Rest, he says.
Mahaha.
Man, I'm nonstop.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll send you the prototype, Lau.
Yeah. Plus her 25%.
Plus your 25%. Yes.
That's it. That's in the contract. You know?
Yeah, I'll send you the prototype to test out before it goes to market.
Yes. She's going to own you like they own Bob Ross.
That's it. I'll be painting happy little trees until I get arthritis.
Yes, happy little trees, but massively depressed. Poor Bob Ross.
I know. He's a legend.
Legend, but very sad story.
Yeah, I know.
So I am caught noodling around the armor again, Kenny.
Yeah, stop noodling. Stop noodling.
Noodling around that armor.
Tagline: you got just one. What's it gonna take? No. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, Lau. It's gonna happen. In 2024, it will be a reality.
This is the year, Kenny.
This is the year. I got a lot of things cooking that just made the menu. Absolutely. Yeah.
You are literally your own movie. You're your own movie ad. He's got a lot of things cooking, and this just made the menu.
Coming this summer.
Brought you
He
by
was on a live stream. He got the idea. He had a lot of things cooking. This just made the menu.
Oh, so funny.
Will Clayton. Kenny Calderon.
Too funny. Oh man.
No, she's amazing. She's amazing. I know that you're great at marketing. I know. Trust me, I haven't forgotten. I have not forgotten. Let's see here. Let's get some deeper greens, some deeper forest greens here. All right, because I want that light source in the background to pop a bit more.
Yeah. What are you choosing different colors? Like you had some great colors in the merman one. We did the purples, the purples.
Well, yeah. So
what are you thinking about?
Yeah. So yeah, I went a little warmer with this little structure that's kind of like burning, right?
Yeah.
And with some yellows, right? But to sort of like unify the piece as I reach upward with the yellow, I'm gonna go into more of an ochre, right?
Right. Yep.
So to keep the orange nice and vibrant on Duncan's armor.
Yes.
I'm going to keep this area between his legs very negative, right? So that we get the sense for light piercing through the structure here and bouncing off of the droid.
Nice.
So that, these little areas where we have the arm extended, the claw, the little monitor screen and so forth, that'll be where I hit my deepest highlights.
Right. That's cool.
Thank you guys. I had a great time. Got some painting done. and a lot of laughing. Let me know when you meet again. I've got class tomorrow, so I'm hitting the sack. Gotta go. Talk to you later. Lau, thank you for hanging out with us. I would love to see what you painted. Share it with
Yes.
me. I'll share it with Will. We can put it up on the stream. And typically, Will and I get together every Friday, Saturday, if you're down under, Saturday
Yes.
morning, if you're down under. But if you're here in the States, it's every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
And if we
Yes.
could, it'd be every day.
Yes.
We just can't.
Yes. But
yeah,
thank you for hanging out
absolutely.
with us, Lau.
Absolutely. And for helping Kenny with his future endeavors.
Indeed. Indeed. She is the best.
Well, we are heading up to the 2-hour mark, my friend.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. Flies by. Okay.
It does.
Flies by.
Now, I think I'm going to do a bit of in-between show work on this because I could be painting this for a year.
Because you
There's
noodle.
there's a lot of armor
Because
on
you
here.
noodle.
Yeah, I know, because I get stuck, but there's a lot of detail.
No, there is, for sure. For sure.
So
For sure.
I might do an in-between bit where I just get some of that small armor done that's really doesn't count too much.
Right.
And then next time, jumping into finishing touches on the mace and the armor and working on the green skin.
Yeah.
Because the green skin, I think, is going to take a while too.
Well, for sure. No, because you got a lot of shape language to pull out.
Yeah.
In the skin there.
Yeah.
But I think it's coming together. I mean, the way you got that burst of light in the armor from the point of impact, that's looking fantastic.
Down there, you mean?
Oh yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir. That's
and that'll travel down. So I'll bring that down. It'll lick the top of that iliac crest on his hip. Maybe a little bit of the abs at the bottom. Whereas typically that would have been a shadow because the light's coming from down this way.
Right.
So it'll highlight that way up through his body. His upper leg will catch a bit of light from up that way, but none from the droid. So
that's right.
Because that knee pad will cast a big shadow.
Gotcha.
So that's the plan, Edge, and hopefully the closer I get to that, the brighter it will get. So that will then speak to that light source. Kind of all talk to each other.
Looking fantastic.
Well, the trick I found the trick with doing any kind of armor or weaponry is just to keep the feel, to make it feel like it's got that heaviness, that weight, and it does require a bit of extra layers, just to give it that, especially that Terminator line of darkness that runs through the middle of that shoulder pad. But like between now and next week, I'll come in and just do a couple of touch-ups. But generally, that's finished now,
right?
Because it'll feel like it's got that heaviness to it. I want it to feel like it's something.
I think that's one thing that I feel like I kind of struggle with is communicating that weight,
right,
in the armor. So would you say that the best way to communicate that weight is by adding bold colors in that terminal line so that it reads a little better?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it's about also I think it's just about the way you emotionally sit with the work when you're channeling that art.
Right.
It's almost like cyclical breathing, like playing a didgeridoo. It's so I sit there and even though I'm talking and yammering and laughing, my mind is in that realm with Man at Arms. So
right.
I'm not painting a 2D shape. I'm painting an armor piece. So while I'm painting him, I'm there. I'm feeling the weight. I'm feeling the movement. I'm feeling the texture.
Yeah.
And it is. A lot of it is understanding, obviously, technically, how we then interpret that, because that is a huge thing that you and I battled with for 100 years to get to where we are now. But it becomes almost like a meditative channeling state where I'm there in that 3D realm. Like I can feel it and I can almost reach up and grab it, you know? So when I'm considering that all the time, it helps almost subconsciously through the artwork to consider things, you know, like, yes, go heavier here, go thicker here, go lighter here, add a highlight, add a this and add a that. So as I'm moving through it, that's the fun thing about this property is we're interpreting things that were a toy or a cartoon or an illustration into a different pose, a different scenario with a different intensity. So it'll be the same when we start G.I. Joe or the Transformers or Star Wars.
Right.
So all those properties, Dungeons and Dragons, all those properties you and I talked about.
I got you. So would it be fair to say that it's more like the way you render that weight in what you're painting? It's almost like you're touching it with your mind's eye.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So when you are like, just say if I'm looking at your like his waistband, right? You're already doing that. So I'm so stupid that I went to point to the screen like anyone can see me. Still in teaching mode from last week. But see on your waistband where you've got your gemstone, you've got your light source worked out. And you've got your secondary light source worked out on the left there. I can see it saying to bend around the corner. You're already got an appreciation for that. You're already seeing that in what you're doing. You're already there.
I see.
The difference is just in our technique. Like I just go a lot thicker.
I gotcha. Okay.
And I do that just because of my background in painting and drawing. Is I just tend to like having not a chunkier, but I guess I prefer in my pictures, having a more viscous feel to it. But then there's lots of artists that like Alex Ross where I appreciate the amazing washes that he would do in his artwork. And
he doesn't go heavy at all.
No, which is sometimes, because of the way I work, I kind of want him to do it sometimes, but it's just his way. Like, I mean, who am I to say how he does it?
Right.
Sometimes I look at that Kingdom Come and go, just go a bit heavier. I want to feel it, like.
Exactly.
But he very much does that.
It almost feels like all of the scenes in Kingdom Come and
Marvels.
What was that other one that he did for Marvel? I'm forgetting. Marvels.
Yeah, Marvels.
Right. Yeah. It almost feels like it was all like referenced from scenes in a photo studio.
Yeah,
right?
Well,
from all of the light that's bouncing off of the figures. No.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was, and I think too. I mean, we all reference at some point or another, I guess, even if we're just looking at things in life, but. He does a lot of photo reference for his stuff, and that's okay. There's no dramas about that. But I think he's also influenced by, like, his mother was an amazing illustrator and a commercial illustrator. So he learned at the knee of that 40s and 50s aesthetic of illustration. So when you look at Norman Rockwell or Leyendecker or these guys that were forming the world of what we saw as published illustrations back then, you can see that in his art. Like when you have that picture of all of the characters on the front cover of Kingdom Come just standing there, you can see that Rockwell painting of freedom of voice.
Absolutely.
You can see the faces. When he does the side profile, the lineup of his Justice League, and they're all looking sideways off camera, you can see those Norman Rockwell's freedom of religion.
I see.
He's a supreme. He's the difference between a cartoonist and an illustrator. He's an illustrator. Through and through. Whereas you get someone that's like a Kirby, who's a master in his own way of doing things. He is a cartoonist. Like, he really renders things with a beautiful exaggeration that makes you feel it as well.
Right. You're right.
Or a Steranko or whoever, like we've seen a million of them, haven't we?
Yeah. Okay. That makes more sense. It makes more sense. Chris Broman says it's all in the noodling.
There's another tagline for you, Kenny.
There it is. It's all in the noodling.
It could get you locked up, but that's okay. 5 to 10 years for that tagline. Wanted in 3 states, Calderon.
Beware the noodling.
But for me, it is, Chris. For me, it is. I build up my surfaces by almost like sectioning off a roast dinner, where I eat the bits that I like, save the bits that I love the most, and work on the middle area and try to have the same quality throughout, so that some of it doesn't taste odd. So for me, you can see it. I sequentially move through my picture piece at a time, and then I come through fast and do a final wave. But gouache is a bit like tempera that way. It'll make you do that, like, because it is a medium that reactivates but dries quickly.
Yeah. So
you've got to work in those areas, because you don't have a luxury of time of having wet oil paint sitting there for a while. You just don't.
Thank you for that bit of advice, Will. That it made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense. Because sometimes I look at like some of the stuff that you do, and it reads heavy. Like there's that weight distribution. There's and I can see it more so in the way you render your color, right?
Right.
Like your figures they feel very classic to me.
Right.
But then when you start applying that color, like that's where now I can feel the gravity.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's something that I find very admirable, and anyone who paints is being able to convey that aspect of gravity in their subject matter, right? Because it's not an easy thing to do. So I try to convey my gravity with my gesture.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
that's where I'll apply a lot of my gravity and weight.
Which works, because I can see that leg pounding down, that left leg, his left leg.
Yes.
It's got a full force of its weight leading forward, and I feel that when I look at your drawings, for sure. Like, I'm very interested to see, now that you are moving and leaning into the gouache more and more, I can see you transitioning to acrylic and oils easily. I'm keen to see how you start treating it differently as a different animal from a watercolor.
Okay.
Because a watercolor, you can get away with doing the washes. When you start going those acrylics, there's an expectation that you're going to go heavier. So I'm keen to see how you evolve. I mean, when you look at some of my early stuff, it was very, I suppose, I look at some of my early paints and I cringe, but I look at them and I think, I can see where I was a bit naive in how I treated things, and I guess I didn't quite understand the way I thought. That came with a bit of age, I think, where I looked and I said, now I understand the way I think when I work, and now I understand how others can get there by thinking in a similar way. It's almost a course of third eye painting in itself.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Like I could spend a couple of years with people doing a course on it to teach them what I've learned, I guess. But it's nothing that's unlearnable. Like, anyone can do it. It's just time at the board.
Right. It's it's the application. You got to sit there and just kind of like go through the process of problem solving as you work through it.
Correct. Like, I mean, there's no sorcery to it. There's none, except for the fact that you have to understand that you've got to clear a bit of closet in your mind to allow the new things to arrive. you know. And if you don't,
Right.
then you're going to be distracted with every bit of social media or whatever. So when I talk about my playlist happening in the background of when I paint, it's all things I've seen a million times. There's nothing.
Right.
There's nothing new. All it is happy noise in my background.
Same.
So my question to you, Kenny Calderon, is when you are doing stuff late at night, and I know you do because sometimes you respond to me when you should be sleeping. When you,
yep.
Yeah, Mel and I have already spoken. We've already spoken. So when you're doing stuff late at night and you're doing stuff like perhaps that are not happy, like if you're doing a villain,
right,
or like I was doing Hannibal Lecter late at night.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recalibrate your mind before you go to sleep?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So I apply a lot of emotion to what I draw and paint, right? And I think it's relatively similar for most creatives, right? Because you pour a little bit of energy, a little bit of yourself into anything that you create, right?
Right.
So if there is a subject that I'm working on that is something darker, something like how you said, like a villain or something. I want that emotion to reflect in the artwork. I want the audience to feel what I was feeling in the moment of creation.
Right. Yeah.
So what I do is I'll sort of like put myself in that mindset. So I'll listen to cryptic podcast, or
Yes.
I'll listen to I'll play YouTube videos of murderers being interrogated,
Right.
of like horrendous crimes that they've committed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
to put myself in that headspace. So once I'm done and it's time for me to like go to sleep or something, I'll play some of the dumbest, some of the silliest.
Some about messages. Yeah.
I'll go through the memes that you and I exchange. I'll go through like, silly stuff that Melissa sends me throughout the day, to kind of like cleanse my palate before I go to sleep.
Yes. Yeah. It's a bit like a method actor, isn't it? In a way.
Absolutely. I do, and I do the same thing during the day. Like, for example, if I'm working on, say, like a comic page, and the comic page lends itself to being part of a particular genre, like say sci-fi or something. But then, I got commissioned to do something that feels very high fantasy. I'll same deal. I'll basically do a whole wipe of my drafting table, cleanse my palette, and I'll switch up what I'm listening to fit the aesthetic of what I want to paint or draw.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like all of the creative juices are like under a magnifying glass, focused on that, so that the artwork as a result feels that much more authentic.
Right. So you set the thermostat in the room really to that aesthetic of what you're doing.
Exactly. Yes.
And then you become a thermometer where you just are reporting in on the environment you made for yourself.
Great way of putting it. Yes.
Yes, I'm the same. And sometimes I catch myself making the same facial expressions as a character.
Yeah.
I suppose it's like when we're kids and we're painting lightsabers, we're going, or making the gun, the laser, the laser sounds.
I do that in class. I do that in class with the kids, where I'm like, let's put, let's make it feel kind of gravelly over here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I make the little sound effects when I'm doing anatomy with the kids in
drawing
the art
Chewbacca, and you're the teacher that draws Chewbacca and sits there going, like you're in the background making the noises. He's off again. But the cult of Calderon do not blink. They accept all. They know the way.
They do. I'm like Pai Mei from Kill Bill. I got a group. I got a room full of 10-year-olds like punching through 2x4s.
Dun, dun, dun. Except, that was me though. I'd be more the Robot Chicken version. I mean, I'm never going to be.
Your hands belong to me now.
Yes. Exactly. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Robot Chicken. That was a great series. What happened to that
episode, Will? Favorite Robot Chicken episode, Will? Go.
Oh, I would have to say it would probably more I love the Star Wars ones. They were great.
Yes.
So, especially when the stormtrooper ran over the the little what is he? The Ewok.
Oh,
the speeder bike.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm really sorry. Shh. Everyone here. Shh. We're best friends. No. And then he flips like 5 seconds later.
Yeah.
Well, shut up. It can't be that bad. Like, come on. That was pretty amazing. Or the one where Luke's like obviously chopped the Wampa's arm off with a lightsaber. And then he gets away, and then he's like, he pulls up at a gas station with his X-Wing. And he's filling up his tank at the the Interstellar gas station. And then the Wampa pulls up in his beat up car and gets out of the car, struggles to, have you seen this one? Struggles to get out of the car, and he's got one arm. And Luke's hiding behind that gas bouncer so he doesn't get seen. He's like awkward. And then the Wampa drops his keys because he's got one arm, drops a key, and it falls between the cracks. And he finally gets it. He's grunting and groaning. Finally gets it. He goes to go fill up the bowels. You realize the car's parked on the wrong side. So he has to he goes to pull out so he can back in again. So it's on the right side. And someone takes his spot. Someone pulls in. And then he disgruntledly goes, he pulls away. And as he drives past Luke. And Luke looks right at him. And there's this awkward slow-mo movement as they're driving past each other. It's so good. It's just so good. So awkward.
Oh man, I think my favorite one is the G.I. Joe one, the trouser snake.
Yes.
The trouser snake. The trouser snake episode is my favorite one.
They did so many good sections, didn't they? Like
they did.
The real life superheroes where they had the reality show living in a house together.
Oh yeah.
Where the Hulk was a bumbling idiot, but when he got in front of the camera, he had an English accent. These fools don't really understand. and then in the cutscenes, he's urinating on everyone's dishes. Dishes done. And Superman's a scumbag. He's a bully, Picks on everyone. Picks on Aquaman till he cries,
That's so good.
Such so a good funny.
Show. Now I'm gonna watch.
Are they still making them?
No. They had their finale already. But
no, it's all gone.
I'm gonna watch some Robot Chicken as I get ready for my show tomorrow. Because that's good stuff.
It is. It's the gold.
It definitely is.
And look, whatever you say about the creators, you can watch the cartoon and forget about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good fun
Here
stuff.
we can separate the artist from the art.
From the work, most times. I find it hard looking at Adolf Hitler's paintings, but I mean, other than that,
yeah, for sure.
It's crazy. All right, well, I think we should probably call it a close for this week.
Yeah,
we're at the 2.5 hour mark.
Let's open up the shot here so you guys can see today's progress. All right, so we were able to layer in a little bit more into Man-at-Arms' armor, so we get a little more weight and some more shadow values in all the little nooks and crannies, right? We added some shadows into the more metallic aspects of the armor, and we've moved on into the background here. So what I did was I layered in some gray, a little bit of pewter, some blue, some purples, right? So we could get that nice terminal line in the droids. And then I dropped in some lemon yellow, right, to get that reflective light from the light sources in the background. Now, next week, I think we're going to add some of the innards of the droids, right? That'll be mostly dropped into shadow, but I want to show some of the cables, right, from the arms that have been ripped out. Drop a little more of this copper into the yellow, right? I want to feel like it's rising upward like a fire.
Are they embers on the right hand side, Kenny? Is that embers underneath his sword?
That's the yes.
No, sorry.
Embers. That's gonna be like just heavy gouache.
Yes.
That's gonna be like added like last.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll have some. There's gonna be some embers coming upward this way. I have some dust kind of coming off of the mace up here, right?
Yep.
And yeah, some terminal lines in the droids just like we want to leave this like prepped for ink, right?
Yes.
And the white ink.
Nice one. Excellent. I love that. So I'll probably do a similar prep between now and next time too. I'm going to go through and maybe just complete some of this armor stuff. I'm not going to do the mace. The mace is a fun live stream one to do, but I'm just going to do some of the stuff that is sort of inconsequential sort of background things that will help to build it. But next time I'll be working primarily on the belt, the fluffy knickers, and the green the green areas, the knickers, the fluffy knickers, fuzzy knickers, and then probably spending a bit of time getting that face done, and then probably the last stage is I'll finish off the droids and extend that background out. But I'm thinking of darkening it all down in the foreground and the bottom, like getting it really dark. So pushes you up.
That'll push the light like a lot.
Yeah, and then just having all those bits and pieces, shrapnel sort of flying off of the mace and as it skirts around. And I've got his little laser bolt that goes straight in the background there. Nice. So should be fun next time. So have a good week, everyone.
Indeed.
Hold our own. I'll be in communication with you throughout our weekend. And again, keep up to date with our socials. That's where we do all about behind the scenes stuff of other things. And Kenny will be posting 1 million Premiere cards, which makes me feel I get a bit of work guilt. I should be making more. Every time I see something, I go, God damn it, he's flying ahead again. But we put all our updates on there. So communicate with us, outreach to us. We'd love to see your art. We'd love to hear your comments. And of course, like, subscribe, and notify on all of our channels. And if you can, spread the good word so we can build up our audience viewing. And thanks for joining us this week.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend, guys.